Hello neighbor, this is Curt with etrailer, and today we're going to take a look at the Kuat Transfer V2 bike rack and see how it interacts with our 2024 Mazda CX-50. Now, if you watch this video and you decide that this is the bike rack for you, you get it, you use it a few times, please share your experience and maybe a few pictures of it in the comments below. We would love to share your story with our other neighbors so they can make the best decision for themselves. So the Kuat Transfer V2 has a really unique design for a platform bike rack. It's one that I personally really like. It's a versatile bike rack that can accommodate a lot of different bike styles. It is a wheel mount, so that's good for anybody with a carbon fiber frame or a custom paint job. And it also has the ability to hold up to 60-pound bikes per tray, which means it's going to work with some of your e-bikes that are out there as well. Operating it is really simple and even hands-free at times, which I'll show you in a moment. But let's take a look and see exactly how it fits with our CX-50. Okay, so as you can see here, it does keep the bike a little bit close, but not so close that I'm really worried about any contact between the bike and the vehicle. In fact, even if I'm on a bit of a rougher terrain, this really isn't going to be in any danger of like punching our windshield or scratching up our bumper or anything like that. But as I come around, like any platform bike rack, there is going to be some visibility issues in the back. The Transfer V2 doesn't hold the bike very high. This is a bike with a larger frame, so with this bike, you do see it out of the rear window. There might be some other bikes that are smaller out there that you can use where that's not so much of a factor. But like with any platform bike rack, we have some blockage to our taillights, our license plate, and most importantly to me, our rear view camera. So it is important to understand just what kind of footprint you're leaving behind you, since you can't see that well out of it. And to the furthest point of the bike rack, this is going to come out to 32 inches. So keep that in mind. You've got almost another 3 feet coming off of your bumper back here, so just take that into account whenever you're trying to back into a small space or parallel park. The other thing we want to take a look at is our ground clearance. Now again, the Transfer V2 does keep it a little bit close to the vehicle. So the closer you are to the vehicle, the less ground clearance becomes a real issue. But if we're going to take the measurement, we're at 16 inches to this point right here. To me, that should be plenty of ground clearance, but it is something to keep in mind just in case you come upon a steep incline or driveway. And I had also mentioned that this rack will carry bikes up to 60 pounds. So depending on what your bike weighs, you just want to make sure that you're going to be able to get it up about 18 inches off of the ground in order to mount it onto your carrier. Now, one of the most common questions that we get when it comes to a hitch bike rack is, will you have access to your lift gate? And the Transfer V2 has a really cool mechanism down here. You don't actually have to bend down and use your hands. It's got a foot pedal here that you're going to go ahead and push your toe up on that release lever, push it down, and it'll tilt away from the vehicle. Now, while this is a bike with a larger frame, when we tried this out, and you'll see in a moment, there really isn't enough clearance to get this up. These are 15.5-inch handlebars, but it was hitting right about here, which honestly, you'd have to have some pretty narrow handlebars to make that work. The pedals cleared just fine, but honestly, I don't think that this tilts away enough for the lift gate on your CX-50. So we're going to get it back into position just by lifting against it until it clicks. And at this point, if you wanted to access your lift gate, you're going to have to remove the bike. And doing that is really simple. You're just going to come back to this rear wheel strap here, depress that tab, and we'll clear that strap out and through the spokes on the other side. Next, we'll come over here and we'll release our arm and hook. We're going to depress this button in the front here on our hook, lift it all the way up, clear the wheel, and now we can remove our bike and either, set it aside so we can get it into our lift gate, store it, or hit the trail. So with the bike removed, we don't want to drive around with it like this. So if you plan on leaving it in your hitch, even with the bike out of it, there is a stowaway feature, and it's really accessible too because of basically the way that this is made. It kind of leaves this cavity for you to get into here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift these up out of the way a little bit, depress that pedal, and now I'm going to lift against the rack rather than let it tilt away, pop it right up into position just like that. And because of how close it is to the vehicle, this should be a significant decrease in that footprint that it was leaving behind the bumper. So if we go to the end of the pedal right here, we've got that knocked down to under 10 inches. So that's not a whole lot to account for when it comes to, you know, extra behind the bumper. But not only that, with it up in this position, because of it having this kind of cavity here in its design, we're going to have much better visibility of our license plate, and we're going to get much better visibility out of our rear view camera, even with it folded up against the vehicle. So that was a look at the Kuat Transfer V2 bike rack and how it works with our 2024 Mazda CX-50. I'm Curt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.